Importing ISIRs into EDExpress for foreign schools. Featuring Byron Scott, Case Manager, Multi-Regional and Foreign Schools Division.
Hello and welcome. I'm delighted to be presenting this session to you today. I want to emphasize that this session is intended for foreign schools, not schools in the United States. There are some unique circumstances that apply to foreign schools, and those were considered in developing this presentation. When I first started working with foreign schools, I was surprised to learn that many were not obtaining process FAFSA data to determine student eligibility by importing ISIRs, the Institutional Student Information Record. Instead, they were repeatedly accessing FAA Access to CPS Online to obtain student aid reports, or SARs. This seemed needlessly cumbersome to me, and I was also concerned that by not importing and reviewing the ISIRs that the department sends to your SAIG mailbox, you are not reviewing pushed ISIRs. In this session, we'll discuss the advantages of the ISIR compared to a SAR, and we will also introduce the department's EDExpress software as a tool that schools can use to review and update process FAFSA data using ISIRs. Training resources to help you start using EDExpress will also be described. We will begin by talking about the advantages of ISIRs in comparisons to SARs. The next topic will be an introduction to the department's EDExpress software. This session will not include detailed instruction on how to use EDExpress because we have fantastic training videos that provide detailed instructions on how to use EDExpress, including for processing ISIRs. However, we will tell you where to find these videos and provide information on the areas covered in the recorded training. So we'll start by talking about ISIRs, what they are and why they are better for SARs than SARs for financial aid administrators. As we go through this information, I'd like to ask you to keep a question in mind. As a financial aid administrator, what are you missing if you rely on a SAR for evaluating a student's eligibility instead of the ISIR? So first, let's discuss what an ISIR is. When a student's FAFSA is processed, two primary output documents are produced, the ISIR and the SAR. The ISIR is the Institutional Student Information Record, and the SAR is the Student Aid Report. The names of these documents tell you something important. One is designed for you, the financial aid administrator, because it's the Institutional Information Record. The other is designed for students, the Student Aid Report. In your role as a financial aid administrator, you should be using the document designed for you, not the one designed for the student. Although it is permissible to use the SAR to determine student aid eligibility, it is preferable to use the ISIR because of the additional information found on the ISIR, and also because it is provided to you automatically in your SAIG mailbox once your federal school code is on the record. The department sends an ISIR to each school whose federal school code is listed on the student's FAFSA. Foreign schools have SAIG mailboxes, so you are all already receiving ISIRs for your students. It is important for you to know that the department considers schools to have received ISIRs when they are placed in the school's SAIG mailbox. Even if your school does not import and review the ISIR, we consider your school to have received it, and your school is thus responsible for all the information provided on that ISIR. Because these two documents are designed for different audiences, they do not contain identical information. There is a lot of information that is available to you as a financial aid administrator on the ISIR that is not presented on the SAR. If you do not review the ISIR, you will not have access to this information. One example of additional data that is on the ISIR is the detail of the student's borrowing history instead of just the summary of the student's loan history. Another example is the Department of Defense match flag, does not appear on the SAR, but only on the ISIR. There is also a great deal of application processing detail that is provided on the ISIR that is not present on the SAR. We will see a display of this additional ISIR information on the next two slides. This additional information includes the source of correction, as well as a flag that tells you if the ISIR was pushed to make it easier to identify a pushed ISIR. This slide shows a portion of the sample 2022-23 award year ISIR from the ISIR Guide, which you can find in the Knowledge Center on the Partner Connect website. We won't go through every detail that appears on the ISIR and not on the SAR, but I do want to highlight a few of them for you. At the top of the example, note the source of correction. This will tell you if the student made corrections or if a school did so. In the column on the left, you'll see the reprocessed reason code. There are times when the department reprocesses student FAFSA data. This can occur for a variety of reasons, perhaps to resolve some kind of processing issue, maybe with a match, or it can be when the Pell Grant payment schedule is updated. This reason code can tell you why there's a new ISIR when neither you nor the student submitted a correction. I also want to highlight the CPS pushed ISIR flag in the right column. This flag tells you when we push an ISIR to schools. We'll discuss push ISIRs in more detail shortly. However, you cannot see this flag on a SAR. You will only see the flag on the ISIR. I encourage you to take some time after this session to review in detail this slide and the next one to identify other data fields that are not found on the SAR. On this slide, I want to highlight the SAR C change flag and the rejected status change flag in the left column. These flags will tell you if there's been a change to a C flag or a comment flag, or to a rejected ISIR. This data is also not available on the SAR. In the right column, you can see that there are flags for students who have an Auto Zero EFC or who were eligible for the Simplified Needs Test. You will also see at the far right of the list of match flags the Department of Defense or DoD flag. This information is not available on the SAR. Although not displayed on the two examples in this presentation, information about the intermediate values of the EFC calculation also appears on the ISIR. This information can be helpful to you when you are considering performing a professional judgment on a student because you can see the impact of possible changes to a data element in the EFC calculation. I've referred to pushed ISIRs, so let's answer the question, what is a pushed ISIR? It is simply an ISIR that the department pushes to schools. It is not generated as a result of a school or a student submitting data or corrections. ISIRs are pushed if a student's eligibility changes, such as if the student defaults on a student loan. ISIRs can also be pushed if they are reprocessed by the central processing system. This can occur for a variety of reasons, for example, to resolve a data match problem. ISIRs are also pushed when the EFC change flag or reject status change flag is set, or the SAR C flag changes between transactions. You cannot tell from a SAR if an ISIR is pushed. This is one of the key data elements that appears on the ISIR that doesn't appear on the SAR. If you go out and look at a SAR that's the result of a push transaction, you won't know why there's a new one. You can only obtain this information from an ISIR. And that's why it's very important for you to import and review ISIRs. There's no way for you to know automatically if there's a new SAR, but you will know when there's a new ISIR because it's pushed to your SAIG mailbox. When we put an ISIR in your SAIG mailbox, you are responsible for the information as of the date it is placed in your mailbox. Schools are responsible for all the ISIRs sent to their mailboxes. If a student has gone into default and becomes ineligible, you need to know about that and take action. If you forgot to go onto FAA Access to view a SAR and disperse to a student in this situation, you've made an ineligible disbursement. Post-screened ISIR transactions meet the criteria of a pushed ISIR and are automatically sent to the school, even if the school did not request the ISIR. Post-screening reason codes are included in the top area of the financial aid history section of the ISIR. As I mentioned, you can find an entire sample ISIR in the ISIR guide, which also contains detailed information about all the information on the ISIR, as well as information about how ISIRs are processed. I encourage you to download a copy of the ISIR guide to start learning about the ISIR, and this slide has the link where you can find it in the Partner Connect Knowledge Center. So now you've decided you want to start reviewing student ISIRs. How are you supposed to view these electronic records? Many schools in the United States use commercial student information system software products to manage financial aid information, including ISIRs, and you are welcome to do so. Schools are not required, however, to use commercial software to administer the Title IV programs. The department makes the EDExpress for Windows software available to schools at no charge, and now we're going to introduce you to this free software product. EDExpress for Windows is a fully integrated software package provided by federal student aid that enables schools to process, package, and manage student financial aid records electronically in an easy-to-use Windows format. There is a separate version of the software for each award year. EDExpress has 5 modules. One module is application processing, and that will be our focus today because that is the module used for reviewing and managing ISIRs. Additional modules that may be of interest to you include packaging and the direct loan modules. You could use the direct loan module to administer loans, including creating origination and disbursement records and sending them to COD. We won't discuss these modules in this session. However, you can learn about them in our recorded training on the FSA training website. There are also modules for administering Pell Grants and Teach Grants. The application processing module is used to manage ISIR records, including importing them from your SAIG mailbox into EDExpress, and then reviewing them and printing them. You will be able to import and review all ISIRs that are generated by the CPS, no matter the source of transaction, as long as your federal school code is attached to the record. You can make corrections to FAFSA data directly from EDExpress because they're direct links from the software to FAA Access to CPS Online. All ISIRs that are imported into EDExpress are stored in the EDExpress database, which enables your school to comply with the regulation that requires institutions to retain processed FAFSA information in the format in which it was originally received. Although we are not going to go into the details of how to use EDExpress, I did want to introduce you to this topic. To see all the fields on an ISIR, you must print the ISIR. However, this does not actually require printing a paper ISIR, although, of course, that's an option. You can print to a PDF document, or print to a file, or print on paper. You can choose to print all SAR comment codes and/or the details of NSLDS loan history. You have the ability to print individual ISIRs or ISIRs for groups of students. And even though SAR comment codes are on an ISIR, they are still referred to as SAR comment codes, and they are explained in the SAR guide, so you will still need that as a reference for reviewing ISIRs. You can download this year's version of EDExpress from the Partner Connect website. There are at least 2 releases of the software each year, beginning with setup and application processing, followed later by Pell Grant and direct loan processing. You will use the EdConnect software to send and receive files from EDExpress to the SAIG gateway. Now we'll discuss the user guides and training materials that are available to help you start using ISIRs and EdExpress. I hope you're already familiar with the FSA Training Center, which you can find at fsatraining.ed.gov. If you don't already have a username and password for the Training Center, scroll to the bottom of the login page and choose Create New Account in order to begin accessing any of the available training. Follow the instructions to create a username and password. The training for EdExpress can be found under Systems Training from the top menu bar on the Training Center homepage, which is shown on this slide. This slide shows what you will see to start the training. The training consists of a series of instructional videos and reference guides and is designed to teach you how to use the EdExpress for Windows software. I found the videos to be very detailed and informative. When you log into the EdExpress training, you'll have the opportunity to watch video updates about each release of the 22-23 software. Release 3.0 was to resolve some Pell Grant issues, so you probably don't need to watch that video. If you decide to install the software now for the first time, you can begin by installing Release 3.0 because it is a full install. You do not need to first install versions 1.0 and 2.0. There is, however, a service release for version 3.0 that has to be installed after the initial install of version 3.0. On the home page of the EdExpress training, below the video links, you'll find the various sections of the EdExpress training shown on this slide. There is also a link to EdExpress resources. If you are going to use EdExpress only to review ISIRs, you'll need to review software setup, EdExpress basics, and working with ISIRs. The following slides will show the various modules within each section of the training. These are all the training topics available in the software setup. As a foreign school, you will not need to review the sections for Pell and Teach Grant setup. Information about terms you may be unfamiliar with, such as disbursement profile codes, are available in the training and also in the EdExpress desk reference. You will definitely want to review the other setup sessions, including the setup for FAA Access. This slide shows the training topics available in the EdExpress Basics and Working with ISIR modules. In the Basics section, you will definitely want to review the Navigating EdExpress session. You will not need to review the session about verification, and the other sessions may be relevant depending on how many features of EdExpress you decide to use. I encourage you to check them out to see if the additional features of EdExpress will be helpful to you. Although there are only 2 sections in the Working with ISIRs module, I can tell you the video training is very thorough, detailed, and informative. The first session discusses how to import ISIRs from your SAIG mailbox using EdConnect, and the second session is about printing ISIRs. Remember, printing ISIRs in this context does not necessarily mean printing a paper ISIR. It can also mean producing a PDF document or an electronic file. If you would like to use EdExpress to originate and manage direct loans for your institution, you'll want to review the Direct Loan Origination and Disbursement module. As you can see, there are many topics in this module. Even if you aren't sure if you would like to use EdExpress to manage your direct loan records, including sending data to COD, I encourage you to review this module to explore the capabilities provided by EdExpress to manage your direct loan records. You may find that EdExpress will make this process easier for your institution. On the same web page where you can download the EdExpress software, you can also find references for using EdExpress, including desk references for each release, as well as an installation guide to help you with installing the software. The link at the bottom of the slide shows where you can find this information on the Partner Connect website for the 22-23 version of the software. You could download this now and import a few ISIRs just to check it out and see what you think. If you have questions about using the EDExpress software, contact information is on this slide. If you are unable to call a toll-free number in the United States, there's also a regular toll number to call. If you have general Title IV questions, our customer support link is on this slide. If you have questions related to your participation as a foreign school, the email address for the foreign schools team is also on the slide. And this slide shows the contact information for each of the school participation divisions, including multi-regional and foreign schools. Thank you very much for attending this session.